ivy. I wonder if this makes it any easier or nicer. By the way, this is what I'm looking at. I think this is just going to make it too dark if I do this. So so I don't even know which category this is in. It's quite a rare experience for me to make the level of mistake that I've made. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. This is the perfect example of a non-important, purely local mistake. However, because it's the only thing that I'm actually quite good at is being accurate with people, with myself, with people. To make a mistake of such gargantuan error with people is basically a final nail in my coffin. So I want to take a little bit of time to explore and explain this. I met some people in Guernsey. I went over to do a job interview to do with teaching at the school where the kids were basically silent. They don't interact with each other, and it's all instruction, one-way traffic. Teachers were quite flamboyant in the corridors, and whenever you passed anywhere, they seemed very happy talking in front of the kids, and all the kids were basically in silence. They weren't oppressed. They weren't like dead. They were definitely alive. They were just used to this is what the situation is. And they seemed quite alive, actually. And so when I talked to them briefly, they seemed quite positive. However, there's very little interrelationality between them, and they do not do discovery. So there was a mismatch between me doing that job and them accepting what I do, which is attempt to improve relationality. So I didn't get offered the job. So I sought out a guy called Mark Cohen, who's a VC of some kind, and met him at a cafe, and he just talked about comedy because he's also he's done a little bit of stand-up comedy. That was interesting. And then he recommended two people to speak to. One who has done 300 days of silence, and I met him, David. Another guy called Mark Wynn, who is an unknown, let's just say. So he put me in the same classification as this guy called Mark Wynn, who basically thinks some incredible ideas and is practicing some incredible practices, but with adults and fairly high-level adults for individual transformation and for potentially organizational. So, and we met at the Lido on Guernsey, which is lovely. And it was a beautiful sunny day, morning, like 9:30. And then we ended up having a little swim. And it was a really marvelous experience, very unusual. He gave me a wand. Okay, wand. This is what he brought out of his bag in the middle of a conversation, right at the beginning of the conversation, actually. It's like, okay, this is the kind of guy I'm speaking with. Okay, let's go for it. Let's have fun. And it was tricky because he's got a lot of force and his reality is very strong because he's having to deal with warping reality in adult world, in companies and so on. So his brand of magic is, brand. It's, he's got to pull it off. And so it's very strong. He's very strong. Big guy, confident physically, I think, and just big guy and very big. I don't know where his ego was, but I don't think about egos. I just engaged the person. And he revealed quite early on that he had a child who's severely autistic. And for whatever reason, I related to that quite strongly. Because it indicates the kind of graft that somebody has to go through when their daughter is severely autistic and the challenges in life. And anybody who knows anybody in any kind of extreme condition is challenging. But the emotional disconnect that occurs with autistic people is very strong. And to be part of the family, it's like, wow. And so, and so I related to that. Not that I've experienced it directly too much. I haven't had that personally too much, but I'm aware of that. I'm just like, wow, okay. It's like somebody saying, I've been in a war. It's like, okay. I have been in a war. I don't know what it's like when bombs drop and, you know, people that you know die. But I can relate to that level of pain. Anyway, so the conversation kind of, if anybody ever engages Mark, it's like, it's pretty strong. There's a lot of forces involved, and there I am attempting to just kind of just stabilize myself in the currents. And I kept on saying, you know, engaging this guy, Mark, is like down there, and it was like the currents down in the water, and there's lots of swirling around the pools, the walls, rocks and walls and handrails, and it was just swirling around like crazy. It's like, you know, that's what it's like. And so, you know, and I don't mind that. I actually enjoy that. So anyway, and at some point or other, his partner appears, Sonia. And she's lovely, colorful hat, little doglet, and very clear. And then she's very clear, quite still. And then I just relate to her. And then the thought of her daughter being severely autistic was just like, it brought a lot of emotions to me that I couldn't quite express fully to Mark. And so it started to a little, and I tried to indicate to them. And then, and then later I was kind of invited to, and I kind of just, you know, emotionally engaged at that level. And I thought at the time it was a bit odd that she was just so clean in her response, but I thought, well, maybe it's because she has her private life. She has her own relationships with things. She obviously, if she had this daughter, she'd be like, you know, she's already dealt with it, you know, throughout her life. So to have somebody that she doesn't know just suddenly just kind of like be very emotionally connected to it, it's just like, I mean, thank you, but I'm okay. And so that's the response I kind of got. I was like, okay, but I wanted to share that level of emotional state because we were meeting in the sun, and the boundarylessness that Mark suggests, and then partner, and it was, okay, let's see where things go, and that's what happened. And so we had a good connection. We talked about various things. Anyway, subsequently we've had communications, and then I just get today revealed that they're not partners. And I made an assumption. So, all right. And so I was completely wrong. Sonia is not the mother of the daughter, does not have that experience. So when she was like, almost like flat, it's because she was just like, well, it's nothing to do with me. So what's going on over on your side, David? And there I was doing this emotional fusing. And she's a therapist and she works with relationality. So I'd mistaken her. I just combined various things, and so I was wrong. But that means that the relationship that I have with her and with Mark is just like off. Now, it's not like gaslighting. It's not like somebody's doing anything deliberately, but there is a change of reality. And I was mistaken. And I allowed myself to participate in that emotional and, I think, spiritual engagement and intellectual to some extent with these people. And yet there was a major part of it which is just plain mistaken. For a person like me, who it's all about precision, who does not share their emotions, that I do not evoke that too much because for various reasons. And so basically I'm a fool. Now, I've chosen in my life to focus on certain things. I don't have a house, I don't have a property, I don't have a car, I've got a computer, I've got a couple of clothes, and that's it. I don't have family, they're estranged, or I'm estranged. I don't have friends I can't rely on, that are not interested in what I do, and I certainly don't have professional, collegiate respect. So, and so I've holed myself up here in Wales and continue to work on this thing because it's my last attempt. And at the end of this thing, I hit a wall and basically I have no idea, I die. And so it's a little unfortunate that I go off to Guernsey, beautiful day, swim, have a beautiful time, engage some people in a beautiful way, completely mistaken, about like an important issue of relationality, about emotions, and challenges. And so how do I kind of make sense of this? And it just indicates I'm an idiot, I'm a fool, but also what other levels of mistakes have I made in my life with my own daughter, about the choices I've made, about devoting myself to the solution sets that I've come up with. It's very extreme. Complete strangers, sunny day, beautiful place. My area, actually, that kind of, beside the sea, swimming. The question I ask, and I would like to ask, and I basically, when he said this, he pointed at lots of things he's doing, lots of projects, and it's like, okay, I haven't looked at any of them yet. I just went, okay, so your daughter, okay, I'm wrong. So, okay, mistaken, okay, right. I'll have to think about this, just, cool, just... Now, I do know that miscommunication occurs between people. So I'm not going to say it's my fault, all right? But definitely I'm the fool, okay, that persisted with that allowed that, participated in the illusion of it, the mistake of it. However, I do want to ask, and I would like to frame to Mark, okay, so why don't you or Sonia just go, oh, sorry, you've misunderstood. It's not my daughter. One's a therapist, and the other one's interested in change the world and change people and blah, 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 blah. And neither of them went, oh, sorry, I think you misunderstood. I'm not, Mark does have a daughter who's severely autistic, but not my daughter. They didn't do that at the time. Why not? If there's somebody in front of me that's exhibiting some level of understanding of reality which is just incorrect, isn't it my role to kind of go, oh, excuse me, I think you're on a little bit of a misunderstanding. And I accept some fault in that because I'm talking huge amounts of garbage. And so therefore I can understand why you made that misunderstanding. Or in terms of Mark, it's magic. Because if you start waving around this, all right, you're making stuff up. And because you're making stuff up, in order to try to break out of the current mentality that people have, and mortgages and ownership and all the mad shittery that goes on in this world, I understand why you need one of these things to, break out. But I don't. Okay. So this use I am a little bit skeptical of, and this is a case in point, and I call it confusion. So when it goes off to Burning Man and all the things that are happening there, there's aspects of that which are absolutely real because they're facing the reality. They're in a desert. They have to rely on each other. That's the basic level of it. And beautiful experiences I had, okay, in a more extreme way than I had with my friends in my late 20s and early 30s. There's a kind of a fraternity, and they've managed to scale it. So there's a group of people that kind of turn up, and they don't even know each other, and yet there is this kind of relational engagement, an unboundedness, a tribal aspect to it, which they're exercising and practicing and proven to be true, and that's entirely valid, and that's why Mark is valuable as a person who's done that, experiences that, got insight into it. And yet, he's in front of me, not wishing to correct me, which is fine. It's perfectly his prerogative. But is it? So what's meant is that subsequent to that, it means that anything that I say is tempered with this. It's a mistake. David's mistaken, which is true. It literally is in front of me, being very emotional and everything else, about my daughter, right, with my business partner, and getting this thing wrong. Well, if he's at that level of mistake, then whatever he's done in his life is mistaken. Whatever. Because the actual living experience is right here. And that's true. So when he's giving, feedback or trying to give feedback about what I should do and write a story for 5-year-olds and whatever, it's like, okay. And there I have been quite effusive with, I think I know what I'm doing. He's met lots of people who think they know what they're doing. You're like, I know, but what can I say? I think I know what I'm doing. Even though everything is explorative and it's all uncertain. It's not like I've built this thing up and it's proven and I'm locked to it. It's, I don't know, but as far as I can tell, this is a possibility. And not just that, but based on my experience of people and engagement. But I've just literally in front of them demonstrated a mistake. So the relationship I have with Mark is, I have no idea. None, zero. It's like, wow. But the question is, why didn't you kind of, point it out at the time? And you didn't. That's odd. So I don't know, what kind of relationship I can have with a person that doesn't do that doesn't actually step forwards and own the fact that miscommunication has occurred. However, put that to the side, whichever way that splits. So I'd like to ask, do you have anything on your side to kind of understand before I explicate and describe things on my side, like what I'm doing now? And does he kind of go, well, sorry for the misunderstanding or anything like that? Take any form of ownership of the communication. And if not, it's like, okay. And therefore, the fault is all mine. And it is. Because it's definitely my emotional state in response to his daughter, and somehow I mistook it in the communication with the waving of the wand and various magic and whatever the warp field is around Mark. And for whatever reason, Sonia was not capable of kind of, going, wait a minute, stabilize. I think you're mistaken. Right? That didn't happen. So the relationship is based on a kind of mistake. Now, they've taken it positively because it just so happens that my communication to Sonia dislodged something in her state with her own daughter. So it's a pure accident. So she takes it as being some kind of divine intervention that was actually useful, which is beautiful, which is lovely. However, it's still based on the fact it's a mistake. Or it's divine. Oh, okay, in which case, if I'm taking part in some kind of divine intervention, isn't that fantastic? The issue is, however, with my stuff and what I do is that it's about accuracy. So the only win that I can kind of see out of this is that anything that happens that is positive, that actually works and is proven to work, any of my work, all of my work, their relationship to me is they have this primary experience when they met me of my mistake. So it doesn't matter how amazing it is, and if I'm still alive, they can look at me and go, yeah, but you were mistaken. And so there's absolutely no way that I can be considered infallible. Because I literally, basically it's like I'm a tango dancer. I just literally tripped up in front of them. And it doesn't matter what anybody else says, really good tango dancer. They can just look at me and go, yeah, but you tripped right in front of us with our relationships. The first time. So the humility is definitely there. If it works out, everything works out nicely. Even if I die and it works out nicely, that's what this recording is. So it's all good. And if nothing happens, then this communication I've had It's just another example of how crazy the world is, that and unfortunate my life has been, where whenever I present something or share something or provide an insight into what I'm doing, it's always marred with something that the other person has to forgive. So with kids, they kind of do it naturally. Whereas with adults, it doesn't. And so Mark's just been pounding me with, stuff that he knows. And I'm mistaken or misunderstood, or I don't know, which obviously I've had from my brother for, centuries. And for everybody else that I've ever engaged. They either come at me or they dismiss what I've got, or amazing things happen and then it collapses and then they feel like something happened but they don't understand it and they can't deal with it. So, and so the kind of platitudes that Mark's come up with and the mechanisms he's developed are all very nice and well within a certain frame of reference. Whereas my frame of reference is a lot wider. It's actually realizing the thing that they just talk about. And so, and he can't quite see it. He hasn't joined the dots. And, that's not my problem. And because if it is my problem, it becomes problematic. Whereas it's not my problem, so there's no problem. I'm just doing what I'm doing, and I think it works. However, it's contingent on the fact that I'm accurate. And I've obviously made this mistake. It's very small, means nothing to anybody else, but it means something to me. And it means something to Mark, and it means something to Sonia. And there's an experience, and there's the basis. And however we go forwards in time, whatever happens, that experience happened. And my error is true. The miscommunication and centralized on me is entirely valid. So, now extracting myself from whatever it is that happens, or whoever Mark is, and whoever Sonia is, and whatever happens, and communication, and the challenge of me presenting something that is meant to be accurate with people that have just demonstrated such a level of incompetence is it's just case in point. So I give up. I just give up. There are two people doing some interesting things, quite different, and there's a grit that is undeniable, and it's like the rotten apple in the barrel. Everything else becomes rotten. So if I say this barrel is good, it's got good apples in it, and open it up and it's full of rotten apples, because they put their hand in, take it out, it's a rotten apple. Oh, but that means all of them are rotten. And that's the equivalent in my experience with them. It's like I was wrong, I was mistaken. It does indicate that it's relational, it's dependent upon us correcting each other, but they didn't. And so it's like, right, that's what I normally do. So if somebody does that with me, I'd be like, no, I think you're mistaken. Or, sorry. That's what I do. I do it with kids, I do it with adults, I do it with children, I do it with animals. It's like, no, I'm not your enemy. Look, okay, right, we're good. That other person, no, they're not your enemy. No, look, okay, we're good. Maths, you don't like it? Okay, wait a minute. Okay, no, you see, yeah, right. It's good, we're good. So I do transformations as well, but they're not modulated for adults, either within the framework of therapy or within religious space, or professionally to change mindsets, companies or something. I've not developed those skills and abilities, whatever you want to call them, because I've gone, we don't need another person that does that. We need to get some solutions at the level that I've been operating at. So I have developed tools that are very odd, that nobody understands. And even the people, the Sonia and Mark are good people. Sadly, can't quite see what I've produced. And it's obfuscated by the error I made. So So that's my attempt to try to transform it, to admit to the error, but also to implicate that any errors or miscommunication between people is between people and not located in one person. And therefore, it's about simply just going, well, okay, I think we might be mistaken. We might be mistaken. We might be mistaken with text and how we're using it, or videos. We might be mistaken with maths and how we're using it. We might be mistaken with, money as the medium. So all of those things, the intermediary has become the thing that's powerful. Whether it's maths or text or money, those are the three mainly, really. Governments, organizations, religions, any kind of social form. And anything like that becomes the thing with agency, becomes the thing with power, the thing that basically uses us to get from one state to the next, i.e. a company continues over time using people's skills, or a religion persists through times using the spirituality of people, or mathematics, science continues, creating itself and creating machines using people in that process. Whereas all I'm trying to do is go, wait a minute, I think the consciousness thing is the bit that's kind of important, and being here, the strange reality of that we are as monkeys, basically, and emotions and relations and blah blah blah. And we kind of need to do that within the current environment in a way which is hospitable and relational and contingent and ecological. And the intermediaries are not intermediaries. They are ancillary methods to assist and reinforce the relationality that we have. The consciousness that we exist in, I'm conscious, you're conscious. The fact that I'm over here and you're over here, that equality, obviously. And the fact that we are in reality, both of us, all of us. And what are we doing about it? And coming up with some form of convention that allows the first to exist fully. And within the fact that, there's land and there's mountains and there's grass and we need to eat and all the wonderful things. So that's me warbling on about my error, but in some way or other, I'm relieved. This level of mistake just indicates it's just like... I'm relieved. I'm relieved of duty. I am relieved of duty. I am relieved of accuracy. I'm relieved. And so, in the last month, maybe two, I will do the best I can with sitting in front of a computer, going out for a swim every so often, not really engaging people. Neighbours been okay, be good, but there's an issue if I start talking about things. I'm definitely alone, and I think I'm going to die alone. That's okay. Right, well, thanks for listening. I have no idea who you are. And if things work out and amazing things happen, then you are special. You know that already. And if you don't know it, then please, the fact you're listening and looking means something interesting is going on in your existence. And something's happening between us socially. And if nothing is happening, then nobody will be watching this. I'm just talking by myself. Which is fine. because I'm not allowed to talk and say the things I've said, think, and I'm not even allowed to talk about what's happened with people which I actually have relationships with. We just don't have the capacity. And basically, if you make a mistake, fess up to it, move on. Ask for forgiveness and attempt to avoid making the same mistake. Tricky when it's relational, but there's magic wands being waved around. But yeah. What a lot of confusion. If anybody engages nature, that is a delirious confusion. Be well.